Wow, you don't see that every day. What a comeback. Tonight down at Petco, Padres come all the way back from 6-0 down in the first and completely stun the Marlins as they've taken the first two games of the series. They've won 3 straight, and they've won 4 or 5 since Jim has gone to Hawaii. So hopefully Jim stays in Hawaii, and hopefully the Padres can finish off a sweep of the Marlins when they play tomorrow in Game 3 of this 3-game series on Wednesday afternoon. John with you here. John Schaefer with you on the wrap-up show. You guys know how this works. We need to get to 8,500 subscribers tonight, and we're going to do that with your help. So please subscribe. I think we're 10 subscribers away. You want a Wednesday night show tomorrow after a day game? Subscribe. Let's get to 8,500 subscribers. We do that. We'll have a Wednesday night show as well for you. Smash the like button for me. We need 500 likes on this video through live and replay. So please smash the like button. You can follow me on X at John Schaefer. We'll get to all of the super chats here tonight. Click the $ below the chat box if you want to support the channel. If you want to become a member, get the custom emojis. There's been like 5 or 6 or 7 people that become members over the last couple of shows. If you want to become a member, get the emojis, the badges, support the channel as well. Click the join button down below. You don't see this every day. You just don't. And we haven't really seen it with this team this year. This is more like 2024, where they fall behind, but you felt like they're not out of a game in 2024. Remember, yesterday was the first time all year the Padres trailed by 3 runs at home and won a game. And now tonight they double that up. They go from 3-0 down yesterday, say, hold my beer. And Stephen Kolek, and we'll talk about this, becomes the first starting pitcher to allow 6 or more runs in the first inning and earn a win since 1999 in Bartolo Colon. That's incredible. The story is Stephen Kolek. We'll get into the miscues defensively from the Marlins second baseman, which was truly unbelievable. I mean, like unbelievable in the truest sense of the world. But honestly, yes, the errors played a role, but I think the Padres were kind of relentless in this game, and I think they probably find a way. I think the errors helped, but it wasn't the only story in this game. Again, the errors mean nothing if Stephen Kolek only goes like 2/3 of an inning. They had action in the first inning, folks. They had action in the first inning. Stephen Kolek throws 38 pitches in the first inning and is still out there in the 6th inning. That's as good of a pitching performance as you can have considering those circumstances. 99% of the time, you've got no shot to get through 4 innings, right? Certainly through 5 innings. And to work into the 6th inning in that scenario was incredible. And it's not like Kolek was, awful in that first inning. He was kind of singled to death, right? A lot of hard-hit ground balls that found the outfield. And it was just kind of a snowball effect, right? Watching that play out. But, the adage in baseball is if you're going to fall behind, you might as well do it early. And that's exactly what the Padres did. They gave themselves 27 outs to work with. And then you kind of had a feeling when Fernando Tatis Jr. led off the game with a 339-foot home run that maybe they would find their way back into the game. Kind of similarly to yesterday when I said to myself after the second inning, 3 runs is overcomeable, if that's a word, but you can't afford to allow anything more. And that's exactly what happened. They didn't allow another run the next 9 innings because the game went 11 innings yesterday, and they came back and won it in 11-4-3. This was kind of similar to that, but to a further degree, falling behind by 6 runs at the top of the first inning, and then saying, if we can hold Miami to 6, maybe we'll find our way back into this game. And that's exactly what they did with Tatis in the first, leadoff base runners, I think in the first 6 innings. They scored at least 1 run in 5 consecutive innings. We talked a lot last year about the big inning, the 4 or 5 run frame. Tonight was more about just continuing to put pressure on Miami. And that's exactly what the Padres did today. They faced a good starting pitcher in Meyer, who had struck out a good number of batters coming in, more strikeouts than innings coming in. He goes 3 1/3 innings and doesn't strike out a batter in this game. Again, was he done in by his defense? Yeah, absolutely. He was done in by his defense. But I'll tell you what, we've spent a lot of time. I've spent a lot of time on Fernando Tatis Jr. He came in hitting 181 in his last 20 games, just 4 home runs, I think, this month. He had 2 hits in this game. He hit the ball hard a couple of other times as well. That was encouraging. He needs to follow it up with another game like this. Doesn't have to be a home run, but a multi-hit game tomorrow would go a long way, I think, for Fernando Tatis Jr. into the Thursday off day. Luis Arraez had gone hitless in that Atlanta series and didn't start yesterday. He got an off day yesterday. Came off the bench and had a couple of ABs in that game as a pinch hitter last night. He had 3 hits, a couple of big ones here tonight, drove in a couple of runs. Manny Machado had an early base hit and a run scored. Jackson Merrill late with the insurance, his first home run in 3 weeks. Merrill had been scuffling, not to the same extent as Tatis. And you just want to see it with consistency right now with Tatis and Merrill, because you know what they're capable of. You just want to see it a little more to feel more confident in them. It was a big night for Xander Bogaerts, by the way. Big night for Xander Bogaerts as well. And Jake Cronenworth. So, up and down the line of production for the Padres, they take advantage of these miscues from the Marlins second baseman. That was a historically bad game from Ronnie Simon. Initially credited with 4 errors. It was changed to 3, but there were probably 5 plays he could have made that he didn't. That's what I counted. I thought there were 5 plays, 4 of which were initially ruled errors. That would have been the most errors in Marlins franchise history, which isn't forever, but still is kind of damning. And then the amazing stat from the television broadcast of Jesse Agler on the call tonight was there has not been a major leaguer in 100 years to commit 5 errors in a game. I mean, that's how bad it was. He had 4 of them. Now they changed one of them. He had 4 of them in less than 4 innings. He had 4 of them in like 45 minutes. And honestly, it's professional sports and it's a results-based business, but they are human beings. You kind of felt for him in this game. I mean, he had, I don't know if he had watery eyes or tears coming down his face, and they took him out of the game after 4 innings, and you wonder what that means for him moving forward. But, again, how many times have I said it here recently that a good team is going to cash in? And I'm looking at the last 3 games. The Padres have cashed in all 3 times. Think about that. Trailing 3-1 in the 6th inning on Sunday. They took advantage of a miscue, scored 2 runs to tie the game. Trailing yesterday, Iglesias comes through after a 2-out error with nobody on to Jake Cronenworth, allowing him to reach. Later in the inning with the bases loaded, Iglesias 2-run double. Tonight, the errors leading to unearned runs, right? Padres taking advantage of that. Big reason why they won this game 8-6. So, you add it all up, and oh, by the way, we haven't even mentioned it. I haven't even mentioned it. How about the bullpen? Again, I think that's 3 consecutive games where the Padres bullpen has been near flawless. Tonight, Sean Reynolds, Yuki Matsui, Jeremiah Estrada with Robert Suarez down. They didn't want to use him for a 3rd consecutive day. It's understandable. It's only May. Estrada did the work for his 2nd career save and his 1st save of the season. So it's beyond encouraging is what it is. I mean, Stephen Kolek, this isn't like you're going to look at this box score and be like, oh, 5 1/3 inning, 6 runs. Like, they need starting pitching. They need Michael King. They need Yu Darvish. And if that's what if you just saw the box score, that's probably understandable. Like if you just were flipping through box scores tomorrow morning, looking at Major League Baseball scores and box scores, if I was, in Boston tonight and I just randomly stumbled on the Padres box score tomorrow morning, I saw Stephen Kolek went 5 1/3 innings, let 6 hits and 6 runs. Oh, he was the beneficiary of offense. He must not have pitched very well. He pitched well. If you watch this entire game, which I did, he pitched well. It's hard to be that resilient as a starting pitcher. It's hard to get out of that 1st inning. It's hard to get back up on the mound. It's hard to basically turn the page from an inning like that and forget about it and move on from it. And that's exactly what he did. And he was basically, invincible after that 1st inning. Now, the 1st inning counts, make no mistake, but they were able to overcome it. And that's, again, a credit to a team that believes. And that's just, over the course of a season, you're going to need a couple of games like that where you seemingly are out of it, but then you find a way to get back into it and win it. And all of a sudden, that 6-game losing streak feels like it was a while ago, doesn't it? Like it feels like it was more than just 5 days ago for me. Like, remember the heartbreak of that 7-6 loss in Toronto on Thursday in 11 innings where it felt as if they did everything they could to lose the game other than Gavin Sheets? They're a long way from there. 4-1 in their last 5 games. The only time they lost was when they had an emergency start for Michael King on Saturday. Again, the offense I don't think is fully where it's capable of getting, but this was more like it here today with consistent pressure, leadoff base runners, 13 hits, right? We haven't said that a lot about the Padres. And in addition to that, they did have 4 hits with men in scoring position. Now they had a million opportunities. They were 4 for 17 in this game. So literally a million opportunities. But by Padres' recent standards, I want to say they were like 5 for their last 68, which is horrific. So 4 for 17, you're absolutely going to take that. They had chances to score many more than 8 runs in this game. And then the Marlins, this is more of the same. A team that is young, has some decent pieces. I'm sure some of them will be available come July. So there's some parts you kind of like in there, but this is who they've been. On average, they're losing 2 out of every 3 games they play. And this was the homestand we all circled. This was the homestand that we all circled and said, can you go 4-2 or better? And now you have to. After starting 2-0, it would be disappointing if they went just 2-2 over the next 4 games against the Marlins, who right now are completely on the ropes. The Padres need to take advantage here and sweep this series. And then the Pirates will be here, and the Pirates aren't pitching Paul Skeens because he's pitching tomorrow in Arizona. So a huge opportunity for the Padres maybe to secure a really good dominant homestand with maybe 5 wins and 6 tries. I think I'm still taking that right now because that's good baseball. If you can win 3 of the next 4 games, I think that's pretty encouraging, and that would mean that you are 7-2 over a 9-game stretch heading into that gauntlet of a schedule that's coming in June. And I think most people would take that. Of course, you could hope for more, but I think considering the pitching injuries and what they're dealing with in the rotation, I think we would take that. So stay tuned in terms of what's to come here for the Padres. All right, if you are here are the rules. Let's see if we've done it as of yet. We need to get to 8,500 subscribers if you want a Wednesday show. That's tomorrow. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We're 9 subscribers away. All right. I want to celebrate 8,500 subscribers with Padres fans here tonight while live on the wrap-up show. There are 330 of you here right now. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Please smash the like button. I'm hoping we can get 500 likes on this video here tonight, live and on replay. And thank you for the super chats. I see the first of the night from Padres Payne. I'll get to it momentarily. Thank you for those that have clicked the join button down below to become members. If you want those custom emojis, we have like Jim's an idiot, maybe as an emoji, and other things that make fun of Jim. And fittingly, the Padres are 4-1 and back to where they were early in the season with Jim in Hawaii, which is a lot like last year when he went to Europe. And the Padres went something like 9-0 or 10-0 or 10-1. When he was in Europe last year. The next thing we need to do with Jim, I might have said this last night in the wrap-up show or today on John and Jim, we need to send him on a vacation in October with the Padres in the postseason. We need to test this theory out to the fullest degree, and we need to get him to like Siberia in October if the Padres are in the postseason. All right, let me get to the first super of the night. Padres Paint, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. If you want to support the channel, if you want to make sure I see your comment, if you want to control the direction of the conversation, if you have a question or whatever it is, if you just want to support, click that $sign below the chat box like Padres Paint did. He says, just got home from the game. Marlins are so bad. I said this last night, and I'll stick by it because I've watched a lot of good baseball and I've watched a lot of bad baseball over the years. And you can typically say this, good teams find ways to win and bad teams find ways to lose. And that has been this series in a nutshell. The Marlins yesterday were in position to win that game. Their bullpen has let them down all season long. One of the worst bullpens in the sport. Today, they show signs of life early, and then they unravel with their defense. And eventually the Padres, get to the middle of that bullpen and take advantage, tie it, take a lead, extend it out with Jackson Merrill. And they're not so bad like Rockies so bad, or like, a couple of years ago with the A's or 10 years ago with the Astros, right? Like they're not historically bad by any stretch. They'll probably win, I don't even know, 60 plus games, right? I mean, they're only, they're winning 40% of the time. So whatever 40% would equate to. I mean, they're nowhere near as bad as some of the teams around Major League Baseball over the last couple of years. Chicago White Sox last year, right? Colorado Rockies this year. They're just not good, and it's the beginning of a rebuild, essentially. They sold so many pieces in 2024. They have a brand new manager. They'll be selling again at the deadline. They're restocking their farm system, and they're, in rebuild mode. And that has shown clearly in the first 2 games of this series, and that's why we said you have to take advantage of a home series against the Miami Marlins. And to the Padres' credit, it's one thing to play a bad team. It's another thing to consistently beat them, because there are teams over the course of a year that are going to lose series to bad teams like Miami, and you just don't want to be that team. And the Padres aren't going to be that team here at Petco this week because they've already won this series, thankfully. So now the question is, can they finish off a sweep with a Wednesday day game with Kyle Hart? Because we haven't seen Kyle Hart in a long period of time, and he's been toiling now in AAA and had a 6.00 when he was up to start the year. So, they'll need some length. The good news is Kolek lasted more than 2/3 of an inning. I think if he went just 2/3 of an inning, we would have been asking Kyle Hart. He would have basically been required to go 5+ innings. But because you didn't have to tax your bullpen here tonight, you don't have to have Kyle Hart go 5 or 6 innings. You hope he goes 5 or 6 innings, but I think you'll be well off, so to speak, in your bullpen if he only goes 4 or so innings, and maybe still you'll have an opportunity to win even if he's not at his best. But it'll be, again, hard tomorrow. And I think if you win tomorrow, then you feel really good heading into the weekend because you got Nick Pivetta and Dylan Cease, and you feel good about where you're sitting. Again, the Michael King status being unknown, we'll get into. The Yu Darvish status being unknown, we'll get into. Mike Schilt talked about both of them prior to today's game. We'll discuss that to a further degree as we roll along. But again, on-field here and now stuff, encouraging. Off-field 30,000-foot view, still real concerns about the health of their rotation. And those concerns are going to continue to kind of hang over this season until we know more, until we get some clarity on both of those starting pitchers. And that's not the only clarity the Padres are looking for. That's not the only thing preventing them from, for example, winning a World Series or winning 98 games this year. But it's a key concern and a key piece of the puzzle, obviously, for the Padres. All right, let me get to this super from Rick. Thank you, man. Very generous, Rick. Appreciate you. Guys, if you are here, about 400 of you are here right now live. Please subscribe. We are just 8 subscribers away from 8,500. Also, thank you for the super chats like this one from Rick. Click the $ below the chat box if you want to support, contribute, or control the direction of the conversation and see your comment on screen. He says, when Jim returns, we must trick the baseball gods into thinking he's still in Hawaii. Jim has to wear a hula skirt and coconut bra to the studio every day. I absolutely love that. Somebody screen grab that and tag Jim on X at Jim Russell SD. Rules are rules, according to Rick. We knew this would happen. This was so obvious. He basically spoke it into existence. He even did us the extra good omen of on his way out the door on Friday afternoon. The last thing he did was tweet about Manny Machado and say he's going through it, and he put through in all caps. And then I think he's had a hashtag yikes. And from that moment on, Manny Machado has hit like 500 with an 1,800 OPS and has hit 3 home runs, which has doubled his season total. So Jim truly deserves credit, because without Jim, who knows what has happened over the last handful of days. Of course, we joke, but yes, the more Jim is away has proved to be the better for the Padres. So I'll make sure to let him know what he has to do when he comes back to the studio on Monday. All right, we're going to get back to it momentarily. Do want to thank our title sponsor here on the Wrap-Up Show, Mark Nimitz. If you've got an insurance need, get in contact with Mark. Click that link in the description down below. I've had insurance policies through Mark for years, about 4 years. I've got 3 right now: earthquake, homeowners, and life insurance. He does auto as well. He is a great insurance agent. He's based in San Diego. He's born in San Diego. He's a diehard Padres fan. If you call him, he will talk to you about the Padres and talk to you about saving money on your insurance. If you click the link in the description down below, you'll get free quotes online from Mark. So if you have any insurance need, let Mark take care of you. What separates him, though, is his service, because I've seen it firsthand for the last 4 years. If you ever need him, Mark will be there for you. So make sure to get in contact with Mark Nimitz, the title sponsor of the Wrap-Up Show. If you support this channel, please support Mark Nimitz. Click that link in the description down below. All right, John Schaefer back with you here on the Wrap-Up Show. Padres come all the way back from 6-0 down in the first inning, and they stun the Marlins tonight at Petco, and they do it again 8-6. Again, I think yesterday the story of the game probably was the Tyler Wade walk-off and then the Manny Machado game-tying home run in the 8th inning. I think that the story tonight is, kind of the gaffes defensively by Ronnie Simon, who was like visibly upset with himself on the field. And the Padres took advantage of that, right? I mean, there were some unbelievable miscues in this game that you can never predict when you're going to run into it. Listen, the Padres have had bad defensive games. I've seen Manny Machado commit 2 errors in an inning. This year, he may have committed 3 errors in an inning. Earlier this year, remember that? Last week, yeah. Like Darnay Tripp, our buddy at NBC7, just tweeted about it, and I was just recollecting that there was that game last week where he committed 3 errors in an inning. And if you're Ronnie Simon, you're going through it, obviously, and you're thinking that you cost your team the game. And I was thinking to myself, watching it play out in real time, like, but it's all good, man. You're like 10 games under 500. You're not winning more than 68 games this year. It is what it is. And thankfully, the Padres took advantage of that. I've very rarely seen a player replaced because of defensive liabilities within that game. I mean, we see players replaced all the time as like defensive replacements in 8th and 9th innings, but to make a change in a game because a guy basically has the fielding yips and the throwing yips is kind of unheard of. I mean, you certainly don't see it every single day. So, it's just part of it. It's just part of it. And yeah, to be honest, I kind of felt for him just watching him go through it. But again, at the end of the day, I'd rather, the Padres won the game. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we're all interested in. Goes back to the point I always make that, like, hey, do you want to see the Padres face Paul Skeens and Paul Skeens shove? Or do you want to see the Padres face some rando and the Padres beat up on that rando? I'd rather see them beat up on some rando than them face Paul Skeens. And thankfully, they're not going to face Paul Skeens when the Pirates get here on Friday. But, you look at this game and you look at where the Padres are. And, again, when I'm watching this game and it's 6-0 in the first inning, I'm thinking to myself, kind of where do you go from here? What's your bullpen going to look like tomorrow? You have Kyle Hart pitching on Wednesday. That's why it's so magnified to me what they did here today, what Stephen Kolek did, right? This will be, if not for, again, the defensive miscues by Simon. I mean, for me, this is the Stephen Kolek game, even though it took the offense to really get going and the 13 hits and, right, the home runs from Tatis and Merrill and the additional damage they did basically every inning for the first 5 or 6 innings, scoring a run or two in each of the first 5 innings. But like, just consider the alternative here. Let's say Kolek doesn't make it out of a 38-pitch first inning. He ended up throwing how many pitches? 93 pitches in this game. So he threw another 55 pitches after the first in the next 4 1/3 innings. He was extremely efficient after that 38-pitch first inning. But, the way modern professional / Major League Baseball works, I remember when I worked in the minor leagues, if you threw 35 pitches in an inning, you were not coming back out for the next inning. That was basically steadfast. If you threw 35 plus pitches, you were not coming back out for the next inning. Now, there's a difference between the minor leagues and the major leagues. Minors are about development. Majors are about winning. So not only did he get out of it, they trusted him enough to start the second inning. I mean, almost like, why not? Like, we're going to need some length. We've already allowed 6 runs. What's the worst thing that happens? He allows another couple of runs. But from that moment where Omar Cruz is warming to him getting into the 6th inning, not only potentially wins the Padres one game, it may win them multiple. And you might be saying, well, what are you talking about? What I'm talking about is saving a bullpen is impactful for a team as series extend. Basically until you get an off day. Now, the good news for the Padres, they get an off day on Thursday, so you can reset your bullpen a little bit. But I mean, if Kolek goes 2/3 of an inning today and the Padres lose, you are right away behind the 8 ball tomorrow with Kyle Hart on the mound. You're either asking him to just eat innings regardless of the way he pitches, or you're going to tax your bullpen once again. So that's why what Kolek did here tonight. And again, it's not going to be like remembered historically as some like unbelievable moment. But again, for the diehards, for the people that are here tonight live or on replay, you might circle this game. If the Padres, go on and have the year we all hope that they have, and you'll think back and be like, man, remember that 6-run comeback against Miami when Stephen Kolek was up against the ropes, and not only did he get out of that spot, but he went another 4 or 5 innings. And what he did to protect the rest of that bullpen really was phenomenal. I sound like Mike Schilt right now, but that's the truth. I think that there's 2 ways this goes. 99% of the time, it goes the bad way. That you're in one of those innings, you can't get out of it. Woe is me. You pitch your entire bullpen to get through the next 8 innings. You're never in the game. And now you're playing catch up over the next couple of days because you've taxed your bullpen and your rotation's in flux. Because if Stephen Kolek only went 2/3 of an inning today against the Miami Marlins, what does that say really about the next time his turn comes up in the rotation? But that's not what happened. And that's a credit to Stephen Kolek and Ruben Niebla and really this team. And I've been saying that a lot recently, like, the Padres under Mike Schilt, I think to some extent at times under Bob Melvin, like in 2022, I mean, they really do show the makings of a group, right? It's not individual pieces. You see how they kind of rely on each other. We've seen it with how good the bullpen has been supporting the starters here recently. We're seeing it now in the very short absence of Michael King. We've seen it all year long as they've picked up Yu Darvish. I think, truthfully, they've picked up a lot of these hitters over the course of the year, right? It has not been the best year as of yet for Xander Bogaerts. But he's also had some meaningful, impactful moments as well. Fernando Tatis Jr. was really going through it. I mean, really going through it. But he had a home run. And again, the home run today made you think like, interesting. Like first batter, bottom of the first inning, and you're down 6-0. And it's his first opposite field home run this year. And he didn't get all of it. And it wasn't off the sweet spot. And he was late on the pitch. And it ended up right in that Petco porch down the right field line, just inside the foul pole, right? The perfect sweet spot, 339 feet. We've seen him hit a ball 125 feet further than that, right? You've seen him hit balls 450 feet plus. This was 339. And that was a sign of things that would come tonight for not just Tatis, but for the team. But I guess my point is they've had to pick up this group. We've seen the offense struggle. We've been asking for someone to come through and lift this team. It was Gavin Sheets that we were talking about last week. I think he's hitless now in this series, but now they get back home. And whether it was Machado yesterday or Tatis and Arise today and Bogarts here today, right? It's one thing or another. And I said this today on John and Jim, and I've said it, I'm sure, a lot on the wrap-up show. And, you know, seasons are long for a reason, and there's ebbs and flows, right? There's ebbs and flows to a long season. But I guess my general point from 30,000 feet on this team is that this is a good team, and I can say that definitively on this, the 27th day of May. The question for me, and this is for a lot of teams playing baseball, question for me is how good are they going to be? And I think a lot of that is going to be based on their health, specifically with the rotation, the work that Preller can do potentially at the trade deadline. What type of, creativity is he able to use? Will he be handcuffed by his system? Will his system be able to return the pieces he wants to be able to get? Does he have enough money in addition to the depth within the organization? Does he have money that he can take on potentially in July? So, of course, the trade deadline is always important. Of course, health is always important. I always do the comparisons between one year and the next. I don't think it's really fair. I mean, the 2025 Padres are not the 2024 Padres, and some of that's, there's pros and cons with all of that. I thought the 2024 Padres, for a good portion of the year, really had this unbelievable knack for keeping the line moving offensively that I felt here tonight, and I have felt a little bit over the last couple of games. Still, this offense has not been a gaudy offense. It has not been a prodigious power hitting team as of yet, but it's been good enough. I said yesterday, listen, they're more capable of beating someone 4-3 than they are 7-6, and they go out and do this today, right? Like last night, kind of my point was, it's one thing to fall behind by 3 runs, but you fall behind by 6 runs, you're asking for trouble, and they proved me wrong, and that's, again, a credit to them. And the manner in which they won each of these 2 games, when you think about it, taking advantage of the miscues yesterday with Iglesias, Machado in such a clutch spot yesterday. Like that was a clutch spot to come through. Tyler Wade on the ball that got away there in the 11th inning. Tyler Wade here today finding his way on base once again a couple of times as well. Tonight was more impressive than yesterday, although yesterday involved probably a stiffer test because they trailed in the 8th inning. They didn't trail in the 8th inning here today. They did all their work in the first 4 or 5 innings. I thought once they got even in this game, they weren't losing this game. I don't know if anyone else felt that way. I thought the same thing yesterday, truthfully, once they got it, the Machado home run, were they really going to lose that game? And listen, I'll take my chances Padres bullpen against any bullpen in baseball. So once you get even and you turn it over to the bullpen, I feel like the Padres are going to win that game at least, 75% of the time. So that's no longer a coin flip in a tie game when you're late, because you have guys like Jeremiah Estrada and Jason Adam and Robert Suarez, right? And Adrian Morejon, maybe I just said him. Like, you have enough depth with your bullpen that you can put yourself in a position where you scratch across a run, you're going to win a game, right? And that's what they've done over the last couple of days. And again, for Padres fans, I think it's super encouraging. Again, is this the perfect roster? Have they played perfectly? No. I mean, they were on the heels of a 6-game losing streak, but it does feel like it's been a while, doesn't it? Because these last 5 games have been, by and large, enjoyable. From that Friday night in Atlanta when Manny Machado said postgame, thank God, because I think he homered to unlock that game and give the Padres the go-ahead home run there late, to the comeback on Sunday, to the comeback on Monday, to the comeback on Tuesday. And that has now become a trend. And be fearful of a team that starts to believe that they're not out of games. And that's who they were in 2024. That Jackson Merrill adage, we don't feel pressure, we apply it. Be fearful of a team like that because they're starting to believe right now because they've overcome deficits, multiple run deficits in 3 consecutive games. That is not easy to do. That does not happen with all teams every single year. 3 consecutive games overcoming multiple run deficits is an impressive feat, and that's what they have done. I mentioned this the other day as well. Tomorrow is the 1/3 mark of the season, and right now they're pacing for, even with a loss tomorrow, they're pacing for 93 wins, which is the exact same number of wins as they had last year. With a win tomorrow, they'd be pacing for 96 wins. So they're right where they need to be right now. It doesn't guarantee anything about the future, but they're right where they need to be right now. Okay, we're going to get back to the conversation here in a moment. But before we do that, I do want to remind our viewers about our friends over at SeatGeek. They've got a terrific offer specifically for our viewers here live or on replay on the wrap-up show. In fact, if you use code PODSWRAP, that's PADSWRAP, you're going to get $20 off your first order of $50 or more at SeatGeek. You heard me right. $20 off your first purchase with promo code PODSWRAP. That's your first purchase of $50 or more. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. We do want to thank our friends over at SeatGeek, and SeatGeek is Major League Baseball's official ticket marketplace. What does that mean? It means your tickets are fully guaranteed and they are instantly fulfilled. They have so many events listed on SeatGeek, not just sports, concerts, festivals, and more. But specific to sports and the Padres, you can head out to Petco on a Wednesday afternoon and look at this. Tomorrow, you can get into section 135 for $20, including fees. That's unbelievable. Look at those seats. First row in section 135, $20, including fees. Now, remember, you need to spend $50 or more to take advantage of that promo code, but you can end up sitting wherever you want. Again, you got the Wednesday day game against the Marlins. It'll still be a good crowd. But I mean, you can sit behind home plate tomorrow, folks, for $64. $64 a ticket in the Lexus Premier Club, including fees. I mean, you can sit right behind the dugout for $80, including fees. So take advantage of this offer. Click that link in the description down below. Use the promo code PODSWRAP. That's PADSWRAP. And thank you to our friends at SeatGeek. All right, back to it here. With you on the wrap-up show. Let's see where we are on the subscriber count. And guys, a reminder, subscribe, smash the like button. Thank you for the super chats. If you're here, you want to see your comment on screen, you want to support the channel, you want to control the direction of the conversation, click the $ below the chat box. Let's see, Jim has tweeted, by the way, tonight. And his tweet from just a few moments ago, Hawaiian Jim is 4-1 with a 6-run comeback win. I might stay TBH, to be honest. And it's a picture of him drinking out of a, what the hell is he drinking out of? You know, like one of those, like, what the hell is he drinking out of? A coconut. He's like drinking out of a Hawaiian coconut with a straw. Basically just Jim. Like, Jim is the ultimate, like, Twitter troll. And he's continued to be that. He can't stay away from social, guys. He's on like his honeymoon. It's his anniversary. He was on the show last night. He can't stay away. He just cannot stay away. How envious is he of the Padres playing like this? Like, he had spent each and every night with us over the month of May. They're not playing well, losing more than half the time. I mean, they had played under 500 for a 30-game stretch. I mean, well under. I think at one point they were 13-18 over a 31-game stretch. And boom, he goes away, and everything's great again. And Machado's homering, and Stephen Kolek's doing things that haven't been done since 1999. And Jim's on his honeymoon, yet he's tweeting about the Padres. And it's like kind of the greatest thing ever, to be honest with you. So anyway, Jim is acutely aware of what the Padres are doing, even though he is currently in Maui, on the island of Maui in Hawaii for the week. I'm just looking at Kevin's post-game article here tonight, guys, because I like to see if he's got quotes in the article. He usually updates it and throws some quotes in maybe after 20 or 30 minutes after he publishes the article initially. I don't see quotes as of yet. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of this is about the errors from Simon and what that, again, I thought that really did fully open the door, obviously, for the Padres, but it didn't it wasn't the sole reason that the Padres won. They still needed to take advantage of some opportunities that were kind of granted to them and given to them, and that's what they did here tonight. So obviously that was part of it, and the other part of it was Stephen Kolek. He has in this post-game write-up that Kolek threw 39 pitches in the first inning. I thought it was 38. 39's even, again, I think you get to that 39 or 40 threshold, and you really wonder whether or not you're going to get another inning. And that first inning, I think he allowed 5 of his 6 hits, right? Didn't he allow just 1 hit, I think, after the first inning? So, some of it was bad luck. Some of it was somewhat hard contact. But, here's a ground ball pitcher that got ground balls, but they just found holes. And that was part of the story in this game. And then the other part of the story is, the Marlins were really sloppy, and the Padres were able to cash in on the miscues and also took the Marlins deep a couple of times with Tatis and Merrill. So, it's crazy because you think about a 6-run comeback and you're like, man, how were they able to do it? And I mean, it wasn't even overly dramatic. And they came all the way back in just a couple of innings. It felt like a game after the second inning. Once it was 6-3, you're like, nobody thought they were out of the game at 6-3, did they? And then did anyone think they were out of the game when it was 6-5? And then the fourth inning at 6-6. And they had second and third with 1 out there in the fourth inning, and they didn't push across another run. Then they took the lead in the 5th inning. Then they added on, was it maybe in the 8th inning with Jackson Merrill? So it was kind of, considering the deficit in the hole, it was almost like ho-hum, considering the deficit in the hole. Like, they didn't need all 9 innings. They didn't need to rally and cap it off with 2 runs in the 9th or, 3 runs in the 8th or anything like that. Like, they did the work in the first 5 innings to put themselves in position to win the game. And then I will say this, because we give so much attention, or we put so much attention on, the primary relievers coming out of that bullpen. We always talk about Morejon, Estrada, Adam, Suarez, right? Deservedly so. These are the guys on the mound when the Padres traditionally have a 1, 2, 3 run lead, right? 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th innings, right? Tonight, this was like a different combination. Sean Reynolds, right, who we've barely really seen and hasn't had the same success as the guys I mentioned. Yuki Matsui, very nice year. Jeremiah Estrada. Now, Estrada's been very good, and we talk about Estrada a lot, but we don't talk about him in that setting. We don't talk about him being given the opportunity to potentially not just earn a save, but do it with more than a 3-out save. He earned a 4-out save. Now, he threw 1 pitch in the 8th inning, got out of that. And there was a tying run was at second base. Correct me if I'm wrong. It was in the top of the 8th inning. Tying run was at second base with just 1 out. They get out of that, Matsui and Estrada. And then in the 9th inning, in a 2-run game, he had the insurance of the Jackson Merrill home run. Remember that the tying run was at the plate for the Marlins with 1 out in that 9th inning. So, and listen, the 9th inning is different. We know that. Everyone knows that. The 9th inning is different, even against a team like Miami. And things can go haywire a little bit. And, that's not typically Estrada's inning. He's not throwing a lot of 9th innings. But he did here tonight, right? He threw that 9th inning with a lead, and he was as effective as he's been. And he's got a 2.5, and Matsui's got a 2.4. And we look up and look at Estrada and Suarez and Morejon. This bullpen's been really good. And that goes without saying. I don't even have to say that. Everyone here understands how good this Padres bullpen has been. And again, it's one of those things that over the course of a season, you're going to have blips. Look at the 10-day stretch they had, the Yankee Stadium leads that they had in games 2 and 3 of that series. They allowed 10 runs in 1 inning. Again, that was an aberration and just kind of random and happenstance. I don't think you make too much of it, but it kind of continued and trickled for a few additional games. And then I think there was some level of concern, but at the end of the day, you can rest your head easier at night knowing that when this bullpen is healthy, it's legitimately one of the better ones in baseball. Like, they have Robert Suarez and Jason Adam and Adrian Morejon and Jeremiah Estrada and Yuki Matsui, right? They have pieces, and they have additional pieces that they've added in, like David Morgan, right? The San Diegan, who just was recalled and made his major league debut. They have Sean Reynolds, and they like his upside. Like, they got some really nice pieces in that bullpen, and maybe they'll even add another piece when we get closer to the trade deadline. I want to tell you about our friends over at MOVA Globe, and then I want to do the update on the status of both Yu Darvish and Michael King. Again, guys, if you are here, let's see, if we hit 8,500 subscribers, we're going to need to do that. We are 8 subscribers away. So please subscribe if you are here. And thank you for the super chats. Just click that $sign below the chat box if you want to support the channel, if you want to see your comment on screen, or if you want to control the direction of the conversation as well. But we do need to tell you about our friends over at MOVA Globes. Terrific, terrific company based in San Diego. This technology of spinning globes with artificial or natural light was invented here in North County, Cardiff by the Sea. See that MLB logo as it spins by? These are officially licensed, all 30 major league teams, including, of course, your Padres. But in addition to the Padres, they have all 29 other teams as well. And the beauty of MOVA Globes is this is an amazing gift idea for the baseball fan in your life. These are terrific products. I've had a few of them for a couple of years. Your family's going to love them. My 6-year-old son thinks the thing is spectacular. And it's a great gift idea, right? For the Padres fan in your life, for the baseball fan in your life, for the person that has it all. Consider a MOVA Globe and consider using our promo code for 10% off. Promo code PWS10. PWS10. That's Padres Wrap-Up Show 10, but PWS10, get 10% off. And again, check them out. Click that link in the description down below. You'll absolutely love them. And make sure to pick one up today by clicking that link in the description down below. Let me get to the super here from Hendrick as we get back to the conversation. Padres over the Marlins and come from behind fashion 8-6 tonight down at Petco in front of a sellout crowd of over 40,000 on a Tuesday night in May. Petco and Padres fans proving once again, well, two things. Petco, one of the true great venues in the sport. Padres fans, as good as there are right now in Major League Baseball. Hendrick, appreciate you, man. Thank you for the super chat. He says Padres testing new styles of wins. First inning was rough, but then the pitch doctor did his magic. Better hitting tonight. Kolek gutted it out. Thanks. I like this super chat. I think this is a good summation of kind of what played out or what is playing out right now. I love the idea of new styles of wins, right? Like you're going to have to be multidimensional to be really, really good. It's one thing to get out to an early start and hold a lead. Okay. A lot of teams can do that, although the Marlins haven't. It's another thing to fall behind by multiple runs and get yourself back into a game. And that's something the Padres have done now with a level of regularity for 3 consecutive games. And you consider all of the circumstances, and none of them have been overly easy. Like consider the worst point in all 3 of those games. Padres trailed 3-1 in the 6th inning to Atlanta. They win the game. Padres trailed 3-2 in the 8th inning yesterday. Trailed 3-0 at one point, but trailed 3-2 in the 8th inning. They win the game. They trail 6-0 today in the top of the 1st inning. They win the game. So they are doing it in a number of different fashions. Ruben Niebla goes without saying. I mean, Ruben Niebla has been a marvelous addition by A.J. Preller. Just a marvelous addition, obviously, to this coaching staff. And yes, the hitting was more contagious, is what I would say here tonight. We know Arise will eventually get his. I'd like to believe Bogaerts will be better moving forward than he has been to this point. And tonight for Bogaerts was encouraging. Tatis is going to be better than he's been. We all know that. I had Kyle Glazer from Baseball America on the show today, or formerly Baseball America, now with that Friar Territory podcast. He's doing really good work on YouTube. And he said, like, a hitter as good as Fernando Tatis Jr., you just trust in his ability to figure it out. Like, there's nothing else you're doing. You're not moving him in the lineup. You're not sitting him. You just recognize that batters are going to go through things at times, and that includes Fernando Tatis Jr. and others. And you got to trust in the fact that they're going to work their way out of it, with the help of the organization and his teammates. And I think we saw a little bit of that here tonight with Fernando Tatis Jr. So that's encouraging as well. And then Kolek is Kolek. I mean, for a guy that never started in the major leagues until this year, to pitch the way he did with that resiliency and overcoming the adversity goes a really long way. And I'm telling you, people in the organization are noticing the way he pitched here tonight, because that's the difference between winning and losing. The way he pitched here today after that 1st inning is the reason why they won this game. Because if he hangs his head or runs into comparable trouble in that 2nd inning and allows another run or two, Padres aren't winning this game. If they're going to their bullpen earlier, Miami's probably scoring more. Once the deficit gets larger than 6 runs, you're in serious, serious trouble, and your odds just continue to drop precipitously. So Stephen Kolek, 3 stars or whatever the hockey term is. Like, he gets all your stars here tonight for just giving you a chance to hang in this thing and letting those bats come to life. But to Hendrick's point, total team effort really was offensively and on the pitching rubber as well, with the starter in Kolek and in the rotation, in the bullpen as well. with the combination of, Reynolds and Matsui and Estrada. Talon, thank you, man, for the super chat. Appreciate you. He says, what's the latest with Ethan Salas? Talked to Kyle about this briefly today. I asked him, is this going to be deemed a lost season for Salas, or can he still, make something of it? And the reason I asked it was because I think he's going to miss multiple months with this back injury. And I think the soonest he's expected to return is at some point in July. And consider the minor league season is shorter than the major league season. So by the time you ramp back up, and by the time you're feeling like yourself, you figure a couple of weeks might pass, and then you're in August and the season's going to end in September in the minor league. So I don't think we can't say right now definitively it's a lost season. First and foremost, you need to get him healthy. He's dealing with a back. He's going to miss weeks, if not months, because of the back. Secondly, he had barely played at all this year, so it's hard to make anything of his year. And Kyle brought up the other really good point, which is, even if at the end of the year it is a quote unquote lost season, he's still, as we sit here today, 18 years of age. He's in AA. He has the time. There is no rush. They've proven they can figure out the catching position to a good enough extent. Last year with the trade for Soto getting Higgy. This year with the veterans in Maldonado and Diaz. They've been catching the staff all season long, and this is one of the best staffs in baseball. So they deserve some of the credit for that. They don't have to have Ethan Salas in the second half of 2025 or the first half of 2026 or shoot the first half of 2027. When he's ready, he will get here. He should not be rushed. There's no real reason to rush this player. He needs to get healthy. He needs to show the offensive skill set that he showed when the Padres signed him for whatever that number was a couple of years ago, because he really hasn't been that player as of yet in the minor leagues. Leo DeVries has been that player at times in the minor leagues. Ethan Salas really hasn't. He's had some brief stretches where he's been very good offensively. He's gotten high grades for his defense, but right now he's dealing with injuries, and he has struggled and scuffled at the plate in just 10 or 11 games to start the year. And hopefully he makes something of this year in the second half. Hopefully he gets healthy and puts together a nice 40, 50 game stretch, which would be encouraging for Salas and for the organization and give you some hope heading into 2026 for Ethan Salas. But I'm not overly concerned about it. I do think that he still has long-term value, obviously, for the Padres, but I'm not concerned about him getting here immediately. I'm concerned about him being developed properly and finding a way to stay healthy. That, to me, is the most important part of the conversation when it comes to Ethan Salas. And speaking of health, and thank you, Talon, when it comes to health, the players we're talking about right now are obviously Yu Darvish, who continues to throw on the side, play catch. That was what Mike Shildt said today. And then you have Michael King. And what Shildt said today was and I'm paraphrasing, but he said something along the lines of they're still kind of wrapping their head around what the injury is that King is dealing with, because it's somewhat atypical for a pitcher to be dealing with his specific injury. Like, what's much more typical, obviously, is elbows and front shoulders, right? But when you get into what's being described as a scapula injury, which is your blade, that is more uncommon than obviously the straight shoulder, which is absurdly concerning if it's the front of your shoulder. And then, of course, the elbow, which we talked about for the last 40 years in baseball with Tommy John. And there's other things in there as well. That's the oversimplification of it. But anytime it's a throwing arm, it's concerning. And it doesn't always mean that it's going to be the worst case scenario. There's guys that deal with it and overcome it and figure out ways to pitch even when they're not at full strength or 100%. And there's other players that are unable to. And then, you do the imaging and you find out there's a reason for why the player is suffering from those symptoms. So the unfortunate thing for me is their statuses are uncertain. It's one thing if we knew the extent of their injuries. If someone told me, hey, Darvish is dealing with, whatever, arm fatigue, and it's 2 weeks, and he'll be rehabbing within 10 days, and he'll be back in the major leagues in 15 days, at least what the plan was. But we don't know what the plan is. We don't know the next time he throws a bullpen. We don't know what that means for his next bullpen or his next rehab start, and what it means for the Padres and for for Darvish. And the same thing with King. It's they're just kind of beginning the process of figuring out what he's dealing with. So, am I holding my breath that Michael King returns the day he's eligible to come off the 15-day IL? Absolutely not. I mean, I think I'd be foolish to do that. But I am holding my breath that he comes back and impacts this team and is a front of the line piece in your rotation in the second half of the year because they need him. I mean, it goes without saying. I mean, you're talking about one of the best pitchers in the National League in Michael King. So they need King. And you're also talking about one of the better pitchers when healthy in the National League in Yu Darvish. And we saw that last year in September and in the postseason against the Dodgers. So, I mean, it's self-explanatory stuff, but it matters so much. King, Darvish, starting pitching health. It's self-explanatory. It goes without saying, but it means the world. So we wait to find out more on both of those pitchers. Luke, appreciate you, man. He says, if a starter blows up and still wins with only 3 low leverage relievers, is it still a blow up? Thanks for keeping the wrap-up show going. Okay, let me try to wrap my arms around this, Luke, and appreciate your super chat and your membership. Okay, so if a starter blows up, he's talking about Kolek, and still wins with only 3 low leverage relievers, is it still a blow up? I don't think it's a blow up tonight. I mean, fringy. It's a blow up if you don't make it out of the first inning and you allow the 6 runs. I think once you work into the 6th inning, it's almost seen as like, gutsy and gritty and improbable and encouraging because of the circumstances you were presented with, right? So that's how I would look at it, is that it's more encouraging than discouraging. Again, if you only read the first chapter of the book, you'd be like, this was an absolute train wreck. If you read the entire book, you'd be like, oh, wow, they've redeemed themselves, right? Everything changed in chapters 2 through 6, which is basically what happened tonight for Stephen Kolek. Again, if you only watched the first inning of this game and then hopped on a plane for Beijing and never learned what happened, you'd be like, the Padres lost that game and Stephen Kolek was awful. That's what you would have said. But if you didn't hop on a plane for Beijing and you watched the game like everyone here tonight did, then you would be encouraged by Stephen Kolek. You would not be discouraged. I'm more encouraged coming out of that outing from Kolek than I was heading into the outing today for Kolek, because he showed me something that oftentimes pitchers don't show you, which is a little bit of tenacity and fight and willingness to just figure it out and gut it out on the fly, even against all odds. So that's why, to me, this outing tonight, I know it's the lowly Marlins. I know it's not going to lower his ERA. I know it's not overly impressive from a box score perspective. In fact, from a box score perspective, it's unimpressive. But with my 2 eyes, to me, I was impressed. And what are his teammates saying? They were impressed. And what are his coaches saying? And the manager and Mike Schill, they were also impressed. You put that all together, it was not just a good outing, I'd say a very good outing considering the circumstances for Stephen Kolek. And I really don't think I'm overblowing it. No pun intended with the term blow up. All right, we can continue the conversation. Again, if you are here, please subscribe. Year-round content for Padres and baseball fans. 7 subscribers away from 8,500. Maybe you're one of those that has not yet subscribed to this channel. We are here for you in season and out of season, each and every day, more often than not. So if you wouldn't mind subscribing, please do that. And please smash the like button as well. In addition to that, we do want to remind you about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. They have a terrific offer for our viewers going on right now. That is up to $1,000 in bonus funds with promo code PODSWRAP. That's PADSWRAP. Make sure to use that promo code. Click the link in the description down below, and you're going to get a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. In addition, you're getting a free gimme pick. What's a free gimme pick? For example, in these pick'ems tomorrow, Anthony Edwards, game 5, must win for the T-Wolves. As opposed to it saying higher or lower than 27.5 points, if you use the promo code and it's your first time on Underdog, this will say higher or lower than a half point, for example. Or if it's not Anthony Edwards, they'll give you another comparable gimme pick like that. But here's how easy it is to play. You put higher on Anthony Edwards. You put higher on SGA. Then you click on Major League Baseball and you type in the Padres. And you take higher than 2.5 earned runs allowed for Sandy Alcantara, who's got an 8 ERA. I'd forgotten that he's pitching tomorrow. You now have to win this game. You say Manny's going to homer as well, okay? And then we say that Toddy's going to homer. All that happens, your $10 pays $1,300. Your $10 pays $1,300. You flex it, which means you don't have to get them all right. You could still win up to $652. That's how easy it is. You just saw me do it in 30 seconds. It could not be easier. A simple, small $10 entry could result in $5,000 or more. So couldn't be easier, couldn't be simpler. Use the promo code PODSWRAP. That's PADSWRAP. Take advantage of the 50% deposit match and the free gimme pick with our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. All right, let's see here. Luke, thank you, man, for following up. He says, oh, yeah, I appreciate you following up with that, with the super. You didn't need to do that, but he says, agree. grit squad pitcher. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I really am. I'm with you on that. It was just, it was gritty, is what I would say. It was just really, really gritty tonight. Out of Kolek. Apologize. I got to do one thing very quickly here. So I'm trying to do two things at once. So thank you for bearing with me. The problems with a solo show is that the show is solo. So it's like a one-man band, which is what I was dealing with on the radio here today as well. Although on the radio, I have some help with our producer behind like the glass, Brent. On the wrap-up show when it's just you. And, you guys know me. I'm not overly tech savvy. So when it's just me, it can be a challenge. JD Gatcher, thanks for following up, man. He says, Padres have the Wake Forest version of Gavin Sheets. Yeah, Kyle Glaser talked about that today. I mean, this was just an unbelievable slugger coming out of college. Highly thought of, obviously. Never fully put it together with the White Sox organization, but has become an all-fields hitter here in San Diego. He has hit and hit for power. Now, he hasn't hit in this series, but, man, where would they be? It's easy to say, it's kind of cliche, but it's true. It really is true. He has been he's just been terrific. He's been absolutely terrific this year for the Padres, the 10 home runs, the meaningful hits, the fact that he's under control now. All of that is encouraging. Like under control is that they can have him here for multiple years. I don't know what the contract terms are, but because of his service time, he's got a chance to be in this organization for a good amount of time. And that's exciting as well, that this isn't hopefully just a 1-year situation with Gavin Sheets. Hopefully this is multiple years, and hopefully this is the player that they thought they were getting. And, they're getting this all fields slugger, that's hitting 20 plus home runs consistently in the major leagues. And right now, it hopefully it's a lot more than 20 plus home runs for the Padres here in 2025. That's our hopes. All right, guys, I am going to run for the evening. What a night for Padres fans. And we'll be back tomorrow. I have a short show for John and Jim. It's during the Padres game tomorrow. I'm on just 2 to 4 because SDFC plays at 5:30 and they have pregame coverage actually starting at 4 tomorrow. So if you want to hang second screen it with me, would love to have you from 2 to 4 on YouTube or the iHeartRadio app or San Diego Sports 760 if you're watching and turning the volume down or whatever. If not, come hang out tomorrow night for a wrap-up show. I'll do the Wednesday. We rarely do with the day game, the wrap-up shows, right? We rarely do it with the day games, the wrap-up shows. But I said if we get to 8,500 subscribers, I would do it. We're at 8,495. So if we get to 8,500, I'll do it. So we'll see what it looks like tomorrow. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We need to get to 8,500 subscribers, and we can do that with your help. And then we'll have another wrap-up show for you on Wednesday night following Game 3 of this series between the Padres and the Marlins, and that'll probably be around 9:30 or so tomorrow night. I know it's the day game, but I'll be on the air. But we'll wrap things up hopefully tomorrow night. Should we hit 8,500 subscribers here on the wrap-up show, and much more to talk about, obviously, as well tomorrow on John and Jim and tomorrow on the wrap-up show. JD Gasher, thanks, man. He says, I have a draft question for Kyle Glaser next time. Okay, that sounds good, man. That sounds good. I can get to that. You know how often I have him on? Every 2 or 3 weeks. We'll have him on before the draft, although I don't know when the draft is, but we'll have him on before the draft. So, yeah, no problem, dude. Absolutely. We can get to that the next time I have him on. Happy to do that. Appreciate you supporting this channel and John and Jim as well. Listen, please support our partners. Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance, Hamul Casino, MOVA Globes, SeatGeek, Underdog Fantasy. Without our partners, we couldn't do this as often as we do it. Without our viewers, we couldn't do this as often as we do it. And this was a hell of a win. Padres have had a nice little stretch here since Jim has gone to Hawaii, winning 4 of 5. And the last 3 have really been impressive. Really, the last 4 wins, with the Friday night in Atlanta, followed up by Sunday afternoon with a comeback, and Monday with the comeback, and tonight with the comeback. Like Rocket just said in the chat, Jim needs to stay in Hawaii. Who agrees? Who agrees that Jim needs to stay? No, we need Jim back for the wrap-up show. I need Jim back for the wrap-up show and John and Jim. Let's be honest. My sanity needs Jim back. I say that, but he drives me insane. But my sanity kind of needs Jim back to some extent. All right, please subscribe, smash the like button, follow me on X at John Schaefer. Thank you for the super thanks if you are here on replay, and let's do this again Tomorrow, we'll see if the Padres can extend this winning streak from 3 games to 4 games as they win tonight behind Stephen Kolek, the first winner in the major since 1999, allowing 6 or more runs in a first inning. How about that? You're never surprised if you've watched baseball for your whole life in terms of things that can happen. You watch enough baseball and you see some things that you don't often see, and that includes tonight with the 8-6 win. We'll see if the Padres can earn the sweep on Wednesday before the Pirates get here on Friday. For Maui Jim, I'm John. This has been the Wrap-Up Show. Thanks, guys.